Jesus came down from the mountain with his disciples, Peter, James, and John. He'd been transfigured right before them. He had glowed with the glowing of being in the presence of God. So they get to the bottom of the mountain, and the sounds that reach their ears first are the sounds of arguing. It's the disciples. They're arguing with a large crowd of people, and the crowd of people is probably egged on by the scribes. And while they're walking down the mountains, while the sounds of arguing are still far away, somebody saw Jesus and pointed him out, and everybody started to run to greet Jesus. Now, you might think that they were coming to hear Jesus talk or teach, to hear the words of the Master, to hear, maybe to hear about the experience that he and the disciples had had on the mountain. After all, the way that Mark describes it, it's almost as if they could still see a bit of the fading glory of God on Jesus' face. But that's not why they were coming. They were coming to Jesus to have Jesus solve their argument. Apparently, the disciples had been unable to cast a demon out of a little boy, and there erupted an argument about it. Huh? How do you argue? How do you argue about something like that? About a little boy possessed by a demon? Why would you do that? How would you do that? What is there to gain? See, it seems like there's a lot going on here, and a lot of stuff that's really important. I mean, Jesus is there. How about he's here? He's right among you. And what you really want to do is continue an argument? You still want to fight? I wonder if the argument started something like, I'll bet you can't cast out the demon out of this one. Bet I can. No, you can't. Yes, I can. Okay, you tried. It didn't work. I told you you couldn't. It wasn't my fault. Well, Jesus really isn't that strong. Is too. Is not. What makes us think that we have an argument to win here? And do you think that whenever we get in these arguments, it ever just becomes about winning the argument? I mean, you've been there before, haven't you? When you get up to your neck in an argument and you realize that it's no longer about the issue, but it's more about your pride. It's about winning. And whatever you were arguing about before has gone away, and it's really about winning. I remember when Wendy and I first got married, there was a moment where we were arguing about something that was undoubtedly earth-shattering. And we stopped for a second, probably to get our breath and get our wind so that we could come at each other again. And I was kind of quiet, and Wendy asked me what I was thinking, and I said, oh, nothing. And she said, no, really, what are you thinking? And I said, I think this is a stupid argument. You can imagine, it didn't really end the argument. It just gave us something else to fight about. But at that point, we're just arguing to argue. It's pretty important for us to be right, isn't it? I mean, we like to win. We don't want to be wrong. We want to have the best interpretation. We want to have the right doctrine. We want to have the right answers. We don't want to look dumb. So we argue. We argue creation against the evolutionists. We defend the Bible against the liberals. We debate marriage with homosexuals. We quarrel with other Christians about theology. We contend with unbelievers about Jesus. And we quibble and fight, and we're determined to win. But what are we determined to win? Do we think that if we make debate points with for creation, that evolutionists will convert? Do we think if we fend off the liberals and the Bible, that the Bible will be taught in public schools? Do we think that if we successfully get a one-man, one-woman amendment to the Constitution, that homosexuals will somehow turn straight? Do we think that if we beat our theology drum loud enough, that everyone in the world will become better Christians? Do we actually think that we could argue somebody into the kingdom of God? Here's the truth. We don't really think that. But we think it'd be pretty cool to win a few of those arguments. I mean, somehow we want our ideas about God to be the ones that win. And we think, I guess we think, that God needs us to defend Him. And we want to win one for God, right? So we argue. And it's kind of deafening. Hey, is anybody listening? Hey, stop arguing. Stop! Did anyone notice Jesus was here? He is. I wonder if he's going to do something about that kid. The kid. You remember him? No? Neither did anybody else.